Thanks for watching GeekFusionTV. My name is Matt and welcome to the first inaugural video for this channel. This is also going to be another first for this channel because this is going to be the first episode of 8 Great. Now, what is 8 Great? Basically, simply put, 8 Great is where I take 8 great examples of something in geek culture, whether it's movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, anything like that, and I throw them up on a list of 8 great examples I think everybody should check out. On today's show, we're going to be talking about sci-fi movies. Now, the first movie on the list is going to be something that was kind of a sleeper hit to me personally. It did okay at the box office, but I think it really hit its stride once it got to DVD. That's where I first saw it because I wasn't really sure what to expect of it. And of course, I'm talking about District 9. Now, this is a movie I wasn't sure about because I knew it came from a failed attempt at a Halo movie. Yeah, it had Peter Jackson behind it, but I wasn't too sure, so I waited till it got on DVD. And I was pleasantly surprised. This is everything you want a good sci-fi movie to be. It's got aliens, it's got spaceships, it's got ray guns. And on top of that, it's got a really good story arc. It tells a very human, emotional story. We see the story arc of the main character over the course of this movie change so drastically. We see him as a character evolve in a very real and very emotional way. We see him realize over the course of the movie that his life and everything he believed in up to the point that the movie starts was wrong, and he begins to learn and evolve. So we have a very human emotional story set to a great sci-fi backdrop. It really is a great piece of sci-fi movie history. Okay, now the next movie we're talking about here is a film classic, not just a sci-fi classic. I'm talking about the 1951 original The Day the Earth Stood Still, not the Keanu Reeves remake. Now yes, I know, it's an old movie, I know it's in black and white, and yes, I know, compared to what we're used to today, the special effects are kind of cheesy. But the storyline, the characterization, they hold strong up to this day. If you haven't seen it, just go check it out. You're gonna love it if you like sci-fi. It's a great story. An alien comes to Earth to warn us, to help us, to protect mankind, to tell us what we need to do to stay safe. And in doing so, he gets betrayed by the very people he's there to protect. The movie ends wonderfully with Earth hanging in the balance, with our very survival hanging on. It's just a great movie. It's a film classic. You gotta check it out. Now, when it comes to the sci-fi genre, pretty much one film gets all the credit for making this a popular genre in sci-fi culture. And that's, of course, Alien. Now, there is some debate out there about what's the better movie, Alien or Aliens. And quite honestly, I like Aliens just a little bit better. But you cannot deny that Alien was a great film and is responsible for a big push in the sci-fi horror genre. Let alone the fact that it created this world of aliens that has gone on to spawn sequels and books and comic books and become a part of pop culture. If you haven't seen it, for whatever strange reason, you have to go see this movie. It is hands down one of the great sci-fi movies of all time. Now this next movie is just Steven Spielberg at his finest. I love this movie. It's a great movie. And I'm not talking about E.T. I'm talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. This is a fantastic sci-fi movie. I love this movie. It's got a great mystery going on through it. It's got a very creepy vibe. In fact, a lot of the movie, you almost want to compare it to like a ghost story, almost like Poltergeist or something, until you get the big sci-fi payoff at the end. The characters are awesome, the directing, the writing, everything was fantastic in this movie. It really draws you in, and it's really, at times, a very intense movie when you see what these characters are experiencing to get to the point in the movie where you get that big payoff. And by the time the big payoff at the end comes, you're not sure whether or not to be excited that you're finally getting to see what you've been waiting for the whole movie, or if you should be scared about what's about to happen. Great sci-fi movie, hands down, you gotta check it out if you haven't seen it. Now, the next movie on this list, some people may argue and say, that shouldn't be on this list, but I'm gonna stick with it anyway. The Matrix is a fantastic movie. I mean, be honest with yourself. The first time you thought it was awesome. I mean, especially for the time. The special effects, the sci-fi element, everything about it was just cool. Now let's leave the sequels out of it because quite honestly, they were a big disappointment. But the original movie, The Matrix, standalone, as it is a fantastic piece of sci-fi movie history. It really is. I mean, it's got everything you want. It's got this world created that begs the question, are we really here? What is life? What is the human condition? Then on top of that, you've got all this character development. I mean, the story arc for Neo, for our main character, for our hero, is a great story arc. It is the classic hero's journey to become a hero. You know, he's got ups and downs. He thinks he's the hero. He's told he's not. And in the end, he has to prove it to himself that he is the hero. Just really cool, kind of a classic vibe to it, set to a very modern, almost techno sci-fi story. Just cool all around. I mean, I love the ideas, I love the elements, I love the kung fu, I love the gunplay. It's just a really cool movie and a great piece of sci-fi. Star Trek. If you're going to do any 8 great about sci-fi, you got to throw Star Trek in there at least once. And if we're talking about sci-fi movies, there's one Star Trek movie that stands above all the rest, and of course that is Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. This is a great science fiction movie. It's a great Star Trek movie. It was a cult classic. It was a box office hit. Just everything about it was good. You know, even if you didn't watch the original series, the villain Khan in the movie played perfectly, and you loved him and you hated him, and he brought everything to the movie. The Star Trek cast was good as usual. Not great, but then again, it's Star Trek. It was great space opera. It was a cowboy action in space. It was everything you want out of a good sci-fi movie, especially if you're a Star Trek fan. And even at the end, the payoff, defeating the villain, is soiled by, spoiler, the death of a main character, which adds so much heart and emotion to the story, especially right there at the end when the action is at its most intense. Fabulous story, hands down. A must-see if you love sci-fi. Now when it comes to sleeper hits, this movie pretty much takes the cake. I hadn't even heard of this movie until it had already been on DVD for a while, and that's Sunshine. But this really is a fantastic movie. I remember running across the trailer somewhere online about 4 years ago, and I thought, that looks like a cool movie, I'm gonna go buy it. So I went and bought it, 10 bucks on DVD, why not? And I was blown away. This was a fantastic science fiction movie. Not even that, it was a fantastic movie. Even if you remove the science fiction element out of it, which was basically just a backdrop to tell this human story, it was just really good. I mean, I can't describe to you how much I love this movie. It's probably in my top 3 sci-fi movies of all time. Everything about it. The acting, the directing, the story arc, the plot, you know, everything about it. Even the soundtrack to this movie really just brings it all together and pulls you in. I mean, here we have the story of a group of astronauts on their way to the sun to try and basically reboot the sun because the sun is dying, and so is the Earth along with it. This is a second attempt. The first attempt to do this, the ship and the astronauts disappeared. You don't know what happens to them. And in this plot line, this story arc here, it builds so much to this ending and this story that is utterly just fantastic and devastating and heartwarming and scary at times. Just everything sci-fi should be, everything a movie should be. Now last but certainly not least is the movie and the name that everybody thinks of when they think of sci-fi movies. Of course we're talking about Star Wars. Now I could cheat here just a little bit and say, you know, the original trilogy, just kind of all is one, that's that must-see movie. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to pick out the movie that's the best out of that original 3. And of course, we're talking about The Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back is just an awesome movie. In fact, it's the first movie I ever saw as a kid, and it made a huge impact on me. And I think for anybody that even partially likes sci-fi movies, it makes a huge impact on you. It's a great movie, very well told. It takes this universe that we first discovered in Star Wars and it expands it so greatly. I mean, we get more destinations, we get more action, we get more battles, we find out more about our characters, we find out secrets, dark secrets about our characters. And the movie ends on such a downer, such a dark note, but even so, it's so well done that we love it, that we want more, that we're craving the next episode. It's just a beautiful movie. It is the epitome of science fiction. It should easily be on everyone's top 3 list of sci-fi movies. Fantastic movie, hands down, one of the best. So that's it, guys. That's my 8 great sci-fi movies. Now that's by no means a comprehensive list. There are thousands upon thousands of great sci-fi movies out there just waiting to be watched. And in fact, what I'd like you guys to do is leave a comment down below. Let me know what your 8 great sci-fi movies are. Now, as always, I appreciate you guys watching. Any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you have any suggestions, leave a comment down below or send me a PM. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks.